Welcome to Out the Gate. This is where you'll get the weekend's best racing intel in 30 minutes flat, maybe a little bit more now that racing is really heating up. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly, joined as always by a man. He just keeps tipping winners. He said Brightside to get the job done in the Group 1 Maccabi Diva. And after about, 3 strides, you were about to go collect your cash, weren't you, Gil?
Yeah, it was a nice watch. It was a very nice watch. I can't believe they were still complaining about it on Monday. That's how everyone was outraged about the speed. The money was in the bank by then.
Well, you can't complain when you're the one tipping the winners. If everyone else just wants to fall asleep and do your thing, just let Craig Williams dictate and win, you're going to lose every single time. And he's back from a week off. I don't know what the week off was for. Maybe it was a self-imposed Chow Wolf ban or the fact that New York Luster got into the top 7 in the $1 million race up in Sydney a few weeks ago. Mitch Cohen is back. Hello, Mitch.
Yeah, g'day boys. Yeah, good to have Ray on board last week. I'm not sure if he tipped many winners, but it wouldn't have been hard to beat what I've been offering up in recent weeks. So fingers crossed we can get back on track, and hopefully I can find a way to get that bottle of wine back off Gil, because he basically fell in. I'm lucky I gave him 7. He should have taken the 5, but I bet you got to hold through to it. So, Gil, I'll just need that mailing address, mate.
Yeah, it's going to be a long spring.
Well, on today's agenda, we have a fair bit to cover today. We've got the Group 1 feature preview for the Underwood Stakes. So that's the race that will take the deep dive in. Of course, the Sir Rupert Clarke is a Group 1 over 1400. We'll get a tip in there. Up in Sydney, we have the shorts and the 7 stakes at Randwick. We'll take a look at the shorts, of course, with the Everest lead up as well. It'd be remiss of us not to talk about that. And as always, the best bets and the quaddie legs and all the news in tomorrow's papers. But before we do get started on the show, please make sure you subscribe to Racenet on YouTube. Hit that like button and the notifications bell so anytime a video does pop up, it'll come up on your notifications feed as well as following Racenet tweets on X, Facebook, Instagram, which is just at Racenet. So plenty going on at the moment with all the socials as well. It's a good time to get on board with Racenet, but let's get out the gate. Start off with the track this weekend. Caulfield, weather here in Melbourne right now, Gil, it's pretty good. Rails out 6 metres. It says a soft 5, but it'll be a good 4.
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, they keep threatening rain, but we just don't seem to get it down here anymore. So I don't know what's going on there. But no, as you say, we've said it many a times before, Caulfield, barring sort of Mother Nature, will be on the drier side of whatever the rating they put up, given the track there. So, we'd be expecting a very, very good track. And we've got some nice racing there. Actually, the fields, I just did my tips just before for the panel there in the Herald Sun tomorrow, and had a bit of a hard time there finding a few winners.
It's a bloody competitive day, I'd say that. If you find the winner of the Naturals, and first of all, well done because you're into the Caulfield Cup, but if you can find that confidently now that Birdman is going to stay in Sydney, well done because you'll certainly get paid. But the Group 1 Underwood is the feature race of the day, so we're going to touch on that. It is a race number 7 at 340. I do love how Caulfield have bought ahead the Group 1s this weekend for those not playing in Victoria. AFL preliminary final, 5:15 at MCG. There's going to be 100,000 people there. So getting the Group 1s out of the way before the footy is probably the smart play.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the same thing happened last year. Yep. Obviously, we had just the one Group 1 last year. It was just the Underwood. The Rupert Clarke was at the end of the carnival. But a similar scenario. The Underwood was run just before the footy on the main channel, on the broadcast, and then obviously piling into the footy now. Of course, Craig McRae has a bit of something to look forward to as well, which we'll touch on a bit later. But we'll stick to the run sheet. And I mean, the Underwood's just a nice race. You sort of find a few horses here. I mean, sort of Sir Delius looks the obvious one for me, but Golden Path, the way he won last week, and that was a super performance. And Kieran, there was a bit of a glint in the eye about Smoke and Roman. So you're looking at the speed map there from that barrier. Smokey's going to be a bit of a hard horse to run down. I don't think he's up to that sort of Mr. Brightside Maccabi Diva levels. I don't think he's going to get a picnic out in front. But I tell you what, he'll be there when the whips are cracking late, and you just got to keep an eye on that. So the key will be what Willow ends up doing from Sir Delius. We know the Waterhouse bot sort of trademark, right? So it's going to go forward. He's going to have to work a little bit because, as we say, he's going to have Smokey, he's going to have Golden Path. Does Casino 17 sort of nudge up there? And if he can get past all them, he should be able to sort of sit outside the lead. I think will be too strong late, and there's a few sort of running home from the back.
So do you see Desert Lightning going back because he was up on speed the other day when he won at the Valley? Obviously, Moira was right there and coming at him late as well. So Moira probably sits in the second half of the field, but surely Desert Lightning can sit a little bit closer. Yeah,
absolutely. And the Moody Coleman camp have a bit of confidence in this horse. I think this was sort of the race they sort of had circled for Desert Lightning. He's probably, this is sort of the right race, I guess. He's not a bona fide 2,000 plus. and he's not sharp enough for those Group 1 miles. So this is sort of the right race for him. And as you said, we saw the way he won there at the Valley. This is a harder race. We'll be thereabouts, you'd think.
And I'd be remiss of me not to mention Land Legend as well. He was fantastic first up. Probably not a Group 1 weight for age horse, but drawing this gate just kills any chance that he had in this race. I thought he was brilliant first up, but Mitch, he sort of broke some really good, he ran some really good sectionals late, and we've also, of course, got Sir Delius coming up, was good first up over the mile and now steps to the 1800.
Yeah, you got to love it at this time of year when the Sydney siders with the SF, the Sydney form, go down to Melbourne. So that's what I found here. I like Sir Delius. Look, his run first up in that Chelmsford Stakes was excellent. Look, he's never gone race below a mile in his life. He steps over 1,800 metres here, but that first up run at a mile, Lindemann just got an excellent time of it in front, rated perfectly by Nasrullah, and Lindemann does what Lindemann does under Nasrullah. He kept finding, but Sir Delius was excellent behind him. He was over racing early, ended up 3 wide, was fortunate to find himself in the 1-1 spot and was doing his best work late. He's only going to appreciate getting up to 1,800 metres. I think the market's really got him cornered. There's the main chances here in Buckaroo and Moira are pretty short in the market too, but I think Sir Delius is the horse to beat, and he's going to take a power of beating in a lot of these races throughout the spring, isn't he? He's a serious import.
Yeah, Sir Delius, he's missed the top 3 once. That's when he ran 8th in an arc last year. So he's obviously a high quality horse. Let's also remember, he's a colt. So winning Group 1s at weight for age on the way through to whatever his goal is good for his stud value. So they're not messing around here. And it's not like Gay Waterhouse to waste an opportunity to win a race either.
No, that's right. And he's headed to the first Tuesday in November as I don't know how many studs will be piling into a Melbourne Cup horse to stand there. But no, as you say, he's got excellent form. I mean, the interesting one for me is Buckaroo as well. Yep. Obviously won the race last year and jumped out of the ground. I think he won the Chelmsford, if memory serves, last year on
Tommy
on the way to the Underwood. Now, I've just got a bit of a query. That first up run was great, but they went like cut cats out front. And was entitled to run on. Now, Mr. Brightside has obviously franked that form. We haven't seen Treasure of the Moment since. I've just got a little asterisk on that run. I think he had everything run to suit. They went hard early, came off the rail. He had clear air and just steamed home to run an eye-catching third. I mean, B Shin on. You got to respect that. And obviously won the race last year. And as Chris Waller said earlier in the week, this horse seems to thrive in spring. So, maybe we're about to see the best of Buckaroo again. Let's not forget he was touched off by Via Sistina, third up last spring. Yep. He won this race. He went and ran second in the Caulfield Cup. So he's a proper horse. But I'm probably just got a little asterisk on him. But you got to respect him.
So you with Sir Delius?
Sir Delius.
Easy. And Mitch is as well there. So Sir Delius for the boys. Let's have a look at the Rupert Clarke, the other Group 1 on the card. I like that it's back here. I hated the move that they did originally. I like that it's back here because it brings in a natural flow through to the Toorak, then to the Cox Plate, or if you want to go to Sydney to the Epsom or the Golden Eagle. There is a natural flow for horses from this point onwards. This is a good race. Another Will sort of threw the cat amongst the pigeons by not running last week in the Diva and coming here. But Angel Capital, everyone seems to have honed in on him, yet somehow he's about $3.50, $3.80 at the moment.
Yeah, I'd love if he had barrier 6 or 7 instead of 13. That's going to be the big query. Look, the way he won first up at the Valley, he's a proper horse. Waller said, it was either this or the Manikato. They were sort of umming and ahhing, which I think he sort of snookered himself, Chris. He said he would hate to miss this race and then get to a Manikato and draw wide. Well, he's gone to this race and drawn wide. So interesting, but I think he's a quality horse. And Chris thinks this horse can win multiple Group 1s.
Yes.
So if he can do that, well,
Yulong will be happy.
Yulong will be very happy because he's a striking animal. I was down at track work on Tuesday at Caulfield, and he's just an imposing horse. You watch him walk around the mounting yard, and it's basically a stallion parade. Like, he's just a beautiful looking animal, big, strong, worked really well. Under Damien Lane there last Tuesday. As I said, look, if he drew barrier 6 or 7, he's probably $1.80.
Yep. Jeez. There's the confidence. You like him as well, Mitch?
Yeah, completely agree for that reason. That's probably why you're getting the value in terms of Angel Capital, but he looks like a serious horse, doesn't he? He's won 5 of 8 starts now. He just knows how to win, and that win in the Chautauqua Stakes was dominant. Now, 4-year-olds have a great record in this race. They've won, I think, 8 of the past 15 editions. So, look, he's another horse that you can really probably follow through this spring. I'm not sure if he's going through to a race like the Toorak after this. Maybe you could tell me, Gil, but he looks like the perfect sort of Golden Eagle horse, doesn't he? And a lot of Victorians have used this race as a nice springboard, and that Toorak as a springboard towards the Golden Eagle in the past. So if he could tick off that Group 1 box, then he could chase $10 million up here. But I think he's a serious horse. He's the one I want to be with.
Yeah, I think you'll make more than $10 million at stud. So unless the big boss up in Sydney can turn the Golden Eagle into a Group 1, I'd say he'll be chasing Group 1 riches. There's some nice races down at Flemington, of course, in Champions Week.
Of course, yeah.
That the camp also likes targeting. So, as I said, we'll get through Saturday, hopefully get the Group 1 on the board, and then, as Mitch alluded to, the spring sort of opens up.
Now, we do need to touch on a man who is going to be very, let's say, distracted at about 4:20 on Saturday afternoon. Do we think that Channel 7 will be kind of nice and smart here? Because I'm assuming that Bruce will be hosting the pre-game for Channel 7 for the preliminary final. Collingwood coach, premiership coach, Craig McRae, Pardones Feroce. Now, surely Channel 7 have an interview lined up with him at about 4:23, where Bruce and him can watch the race together, talk about that, and then, the preliminary final that he's about to coach.
It's got a bit of a Winks moment, doesn't it? Bruce sort of hitting the table and cheering as they're coming along.
A big hug.
That's right. Well, Justin Lepich is also a part owner as well, so no, they'll be all eyes on that. A bit of a distraction there for the Collingwood rooms. Maybe that'll sort of set the tone in the room, sort of take the pressure off, get the boys to focus on the punt. Well, actually not on the punt.
Yeah, please don't.
Don't punt, but watch the races if you're a Collingwood footballer. And, of course, Billy Egan, the jockey, now he is a fanatical Collingwood supporter as well. Yeah, supporter is probably the wrong word. He's just a fanatic, a one-eyed pie. So he's obviously riding for McRae as well, riding for Roach, won the Group 1 on him. And I reckon Billy would want to get this race run and won so he could get home and watch the footy.
I reckon he's more chance of jumping on the train and heading straight to Jolimont, given he's at Caulfield, straight across. If he wins the race, straight to the probably the Medallion Club if he's won the race.
Well, that's right. Well, he's got to ride in the next race, so he'll have to get through both his last 2 commitments, and then I'm pretty sure if he does win the Group 1, surely you could get him into the Collingwood rooms post game.
He's got to get Mark Zara's planner on board, because you know how Mark Zara wins that race in February and then nicks off as soon as the Orr, and then nicks off straight away to the airport to get to the Super Bowl. So he doesn't ride in the last race. Billy, got to be better than that, mate.
That's right.
We'll go to the shorts as well. It's obviously big race in Sydney. Major lead up for the Everest. This is a great race because everyone's going to hear it's the drinking game across the weekend. This is a mini Everest. You've got Briasa, Private Harry and Jolie Star who have all got slots. The Golden Slipper winner Mahuna turns up as well, possibly looking for a spot. More importantly, you've got a Kosciuszko horse, Compelling Truth, who's going to be the bunny for all these horses to chase, who's going to lead up. But this is a great race, Mitch.
Yeah, it really is. It's interesting because a lot of these Everest horses aren't there for their grand finals, are they? This is sort of a tune-up. They're not going to be fully even close to where they're going to be in a few weeks' time. So obviously, Briasa, Private Eye, and Jolie Star are the 3 you've mentioned that already have those slots locked in. A horse like Jetabil as well will have a slot locked in if he's to win this race. His owner, Michael Gregg, owns Mulberry Racing slot, which was recently purchased. So you can basically guarantee that he will start in that race. But Brad Widdop's been pretty open about the fact that, look, he wants to see this horse actually compete against these horses. They're not just going to throw any horse into that slot that they have for the Everest. So he really needs to show his true colours on Saturday, and he will be there for this race. He was meant to line up in the Concord Stakes. Look, I like Briasa. I think you could really make a case for him if he draws a gate in that Galaxy. He goes close to beating Private Harry. Take nothing away from Private Harry. He's been awesome. He's 5 of 5. He's a really, really smart colt on the way up. But I think Briasa is really a nice sprinter as well. And I hope we see plenty of clashes between these 2 really sharp sprinters. But his trials have been excellent. Briasa obviously went and won that TJ Smith Stakes at his next start after the Galaxy, and then went for a spell after the All-Age Stakes where he just didn't seem to see out the 1,400 metres on the day. But he's back here. He's locked in for the Everest, a couple of nice trials. I think he runs really well. Private Harry, as I said, take nothing away from him. He's there to run well. And Jolie Star, now she was meant to line up last week in that Chiraco Stakes. They opted to wait another week because of the awkward draw. Look, she always runs well fresh. She can't be discounted, but just a cracking race. You did mention Mahuna. I think the Coolmore is one of the targets down there during the Flemington Carnival. So interested to see how the Golden Slipper winner returns. Probably one of the more lightly raced Golden Slipper winners we've seen. So whether she sheds the slipper curse, as some like to say on Saturday, we'll wait and see.
Just ask Richard Freeman about the slipper curse. He's a genuine non-believer in that. So this is the interesting part of it for me. Like Jolie Star, probably not there to be at her peak first up. Briace, I think the Hawkses really want to make a statement. Throughout the whole winter period, Wayne Hawkes has been on radio talking up this horse, talking down Kai Ying Rising and everyone else. So they're here to make a statement. Private Harry's also a colt. So winning a Galaxy Group 1 handicap on the minimum, that's great. Winning a Group 2 like this on the way through to potentially winning an Everest is great for his stallion claims as well. Let's be honest, their owner has been talking all kinds of trash on social media for the last 6 months. So Private Harry is absolutely here to win. But which way are you leaning, Gil?
Just Jolly Star. Look, I haven't got a real strong focus. As we know, I don't really follow the big race up in Sydney too closely, Mitchy. But the winner of the race isn't in this race either, and it's not the Hong Kong horse either.
Oh.
But yeah, look, I'm just going with the proven performer, more so on the fresh record. I'm just going to trust her. I just think
she's going to camp off him, isn't she?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So she'll be there. We know the quality that she's got. She'll be down here during Melbourne Cup Carnival and be going towards a champion sprint as well once maybe she runs well in an Everest. But, I just think there's a few question marks on the up-and-comers, and I just think she's just the proven.
So quickly, you said it's not Kai Ying Rising at the moment. Who's your Everest winner?
Well, that's a good question. That is a very good question. I'll have to find
I thought you were just going to get Laddie Shannon Dale.
I'll have to find the Victorian horse in the field. We'll be parochial and we'll sit. So whoever the Victorian horse in the field, of course, the Vics have a great record in all these Sydney races. So I guess we'll just go up there and who's ever there.
Yeah. I'm still getting over Vega Magic. I think David Hayes is as well. That's why he's bringing a horse halfway around the world to get the job done. But we've got to get to the best bets across the weekend. Of course, it is. You've got the Jim Maloney Stakes. You've got the Caulfield Guineas Prelude as well this weekend. Gilbert, your best bet does come up in the Jim Maloney Stakes. It is race number 6.
Yeah, Vivid Sun, super win at Sandown last start, like proper horse, proper filly on the way through.
Yep.
Owned in similar interest to Autumn Angel, who of course burst out of the ground. She could have been anything a couple of seasons ago. We're sort of looking at treasure of the moment now, and you're thinking, oh, geez, probably on a similar trajectory was Autumn Angel at the time, but unfortunately had an injury and will be enjoying life in the breeding barn. But Vivid Sun, I think, is a proper filly. We've seen these Autumn Suns just jump out of the ground. Yeah. They just give them time, let them settle into their own physiques, and then they come out and they're proper racehorses. Good price, I think we're getting. I think that's because we're stepping up, obviously, from midweek class to a stakes race on a Saturday. It's a competitive enough race, but I just think there's enough upside in this filly to win.
We go up to Sydney, Mitch, for your best bet. We didn't touch on the track, though. The rail's 7 metres from the 1600 to the winning post, and it's out 4 metres the remainder. Is the sun out in Sydney? Because it was a good 4 this morning.
Yeah, it is, and the sun is still out. Look, what about these Sydney tracks? I know you probably were bagging us last week after we copped a deluge on Wednesday night, but we were racing on a perfect surface come race time on Saturday, so that beautiful spring weather's really kicked in. But yeah, my best bet on the program is in race 6, number 1, Apocalyptic. Look, I think she's a pretty special filly. She meets a few of the horses that she met the other day in the second leg of the Princess Series, the Furious Stakes, in Tupacara and Within the Law. I think, look, they're both good fillies in their own right, but this filly could be something right outside the box. So she was only having a second start off a really long spell. She was the horse that Michael Freeman and Tommy Berry thought could be a Golden Slipper horse. During the autumn, she had a setback there and has come back. And off that long spell, it was great to see do it the way she did. She was doing her best work through the line there. They've always said the 1400 to a mile is where she's really going to come into her own. And I just don't see how some of these could turn the tables on her. I think she's a filly on the up, and she's going to take a power beating. I guess the different form in this will be Queen of Clubs. She featured in that first leg of the Princess Series and has been given a bit more time, a sort of a tick over trial, and then heading to this straight to the 1400 metres rather than a second run at 1200. So she brings some interesting form, but I think Apocalyptic is going to announce herself as clearly the horse to beat in this flight stakes.
Look forward to seeing you stretch out to the 1400. And even Chupacabra does get the blinkers on for the first time, draws a better gate. So it's said to be a cracking race. These Princess Series races are always good. Gil, your next best. We've already talked about him. Do you need to go over it again?
No, I just think Angel Capital will be there. Just we'll need that little ounce of luck. Probably ends up, midfield with a trail somewhere, and then we'll be using that turn of foot late.
Was it Land of Plenty that did that like 6 or 7 years ago? D lane for Weary, sat 3 wide with cover, and in the straight just peeled off and went whooshka. I think it was him. Might have been in a Toorak.
I'll take that as read. But what I do know is Angel Capital does get around Caulfield, so that's always a trick. And obviously loves the 1400 metre trip. So look, it looks his race. I am wary of Sepples. I mean, Sepples has drawn wide. Super win first up. Obviously, 3-year-old coming through now 4. Has a fair bit of ground to make up. I expect another Will to run better, and I would have something cheeky in the multiples for Damask Rose.
Yeah. Big Geelong guy, Cliff Brown, as well, so he could be in for a very good weekend if Geelong get the job done in the prelim on Friday night. Mitch, to your next best earlier in the day comes up in race number 4, just a benchmark 78 over 1,400 metres.
Yeah, that's the 12 Idle Flyer. Look, I preferred when she was double this quote. The money's come for this mare in this race. I think she's basically halved a quote from that $8 quote during the week, and the money seems to keep coming, and for good reason. I think she's a really nice mare. She was excellent first up there on the Randwick Kensington track last month, I should say, when she went back to last. Made up a stack of ground and won, getting away from them late by about a length of 3/4 there over the 1250. So she was doing her best work late. I think the 1400 metres should suit here. Look, she's had a little tick over trial, 3 weeks between runs. I think it's a pretty competitive race, but I think she's a filly you can follow heading towards sort of stakes races, and you might see her in races like an Angst and things like that in the weeks and months to come. So, look, I think she's a nice horse. Idle Flyer for me.
And we get down for a value play at Caulfield. Gil, yours comes up in the Naturalism Stakes over 2,000 metres. Now, note, if you're watching this is on Thursday morning. We're recording this at 9:30 a.m. Birdman yet to be scratched, but Chris Waller has already said in his weekly update that goes out on socials on Wednesday night, Birdman won't be running at Caulfield. He'll be running in the Kingston Town in Sydney. So if you're having a bet, make sure you check that Birdman's been scratched, because if not, you're about to cop a big deduction because your value bet is in this race. He's got a tricky gate, but he loves Caulfield.
Yeah, that's right. Berkeley Square. I've sort of been sniffing around Berkeley Square all campaign. I'm just waiting for that moment. Now, the issue with him, he just gets back. And it's hard. It's hard to make a profit on horses that always just get back and are giving him starts. I just think he might just get the right sort of run here. I wasn't too worried about Birdman. I think Birdman needs 3 laps of Caulfield to get warm. So I was happy whether he was in the field or otherwise. I mean, Half Yours is the sort of the untapped up and comer, and they're talking him up as a Group 1 horse in waiting. So you got to respect him. But Berkeley Square, I think, has been racing really well. He's been getting back and then running on. I think he might just might get the nice run here and be there late. He does love Caulfield, loves the distance. And the other one I wouldn't mind is the 12 Torrenzino. Now, he is a proper 2,000 metre Caulfield specialist. And he's another one that will need a little bit of luck drawn wide again. I've had no luck with the barriers this week, but I want him in my trifectas and first fours.
God bless him for winning the Easter Cup is all I can say about Torrenzino. Mitch, your value play does come up in the final event of the afternoon. Top weight.
Yeah, that's right. The quietness in the last. Look, I think potentially more of a place play here, but certainly have something on the win. I think he's a really nice import. He was only having his first preparation in Australia, last preparation, and didn't run a bad race. His first up run was in similar grade at the same track and trip, and he just found a couple too sharp for him, but raced really well, finished third on that occasion. He then went up to Grafton 2 starts later and really should have won the Grafton Cup against Don Diego de Vega. He threw it away late. I guess there'll be a few people watching the form, looking back at the form this week, and if they backed him, then they're probably still shaking their head about how he lost that Grafton Cup. But I think I like these imports that have had that grounding of one preparation in Australia and come back, and they generally come back better gallopers that second preparation. So I think he could probably land pretty prominently and be in this a long way. Whether a few of them just have a bit too much dash for him, we'll wait and see. But I think he's worth it at the price to have something on, particularly at the place value, but certainly on the win value as well.
Shout out to Richard Peagam and the crew as well. Great supporters of racing. They have a bunch of horses. Hopefully more felons can get up and going. That poor horse has had no issue with injury at all. Get to the quaddies for the weekend. If you took Gil's quaddie last weekend, you would have made some money. $100 would have turned into $250 because he was smart enough to keep Mr. Brightside on side in the Maccabi Diva. So $100 last week got you around $250. But this week, oh boy, you're really throwing all in here.
Oh, I almost could have gone one out in the first leg too, but I thought I'd be a bit smarter than that. But so we'll go 8, 9, and 10 in the first leg. I could just about go Serdelius the 9, 1 out. But
Golden Path wins. You're on for a big collection.
Well, yeah, look, that's a late inclusion. I just was taken by his win last start, and I just think he has to go there. And you got to respect Moira, the way she's been racing. Yep. I think she's building towards something nice. I don't know if that nice is this Saturday necessarily, but I think she's building towards something.
She looks a genuine lock on certainty to win the 2,000 metre Mares Racing Cup week on the Saturday, the Matriarch.
Yes, right.
Find your bookie, get on her in the Matriarch now because she's unbeatable if she turns up in that.
Okay, well, we'll put that in the run sheet for Cup Week. But in the second leg, we've gone the 1, the 9, and the 15. So again, you could go 1 out again. Angel, imagine we've done that. 1 out, 1 out.
Yeah.
Two, favourite. Probably pay nothing. But 1, 9, and 15. In the third leg, 2, 10, 12, and 17. I think that's our value leg, of course. And we'll come home in the last with number 8, Gilded Water. Now, the King's horse. I don't know what the time difference is for King Charles and Queen Camilla, but they might have to tune in.
About 8:25.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Perfect time to tune in and watch Gilded Water win. He just has to win. I mean, it's basically we're at that point in the situation where if they want to get to the Cup, they need to start winning races to at least get into races to get themselves to the Cup.
Because he was balloted out of the naturalism, of course.
Yes. So, he just needs to get that rating up. He's going to have to get through the back door somewhere, and then that'll be a country Cup. I think
Bendigo.
That's right. And Kieran's made an art form of sort of sending a horse there and winning that race to get himself in. But in order to get to that and be confident of getting into those fields, this horse has to start winning. I thought it was super first up after a long break. Wasn't really wound up and basically just peaked on the run.
Really, if we wanted to as well, we could also have another quaddie where we go 1 out, field 1 out. And just hope for a blowout in the naturalism.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, except what's that?
I don't know what the percentage there would be. The naturalism is a fairly
1 by
big
1
field.
by 16 by 1. 16.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, 16 combinations. So
I was never good at math.
You're just here to pick winners. Mitch, we'll have a look at your quaddie. Ray in the sin bin for last week did not get it. He got knocked off in the first leg. I can't even remember what race that was, but he got the other 3, so we'll give him credit there. But yours, not as tiny as Gil's here this weekend, but still a nice dividend if we're going to get it.
Yeah, but in defence of Ray, I don't think it would have paid that much last week, the quaddie with Autumn Glow in there, wouldn't it?
No.
At about $1.35. We need to keep those legs out of the quaddie. Otherwise, we're finding no value. We might have to move to the big 6s or the early quaddies if they keep putting up horses like that. But unfortunately, that's just the way of it. Cookie crumbles. For me, race 7, 2, 5, 9, and 17 in leg 1. Second leg, 1 and 11. Race 9, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And come home with 1, 4, and 5. So fingers crossed we can get a result there. As I said, there's no real sort of short price favourites. I guess Fangirl is probably the shortest price favourite in there, and she's definitely a chance of winning that 7 stakes for a second time. A big chance, you'd have to say.
So $100 for that'll get you 104.16%. Didn't mention Gil's. $100 get you 277%. So a nice collect there if you do get it. But we need to talk about the news that's going on this weekend. Of course, Carnival time. There is news here, there, and everywhere. What's going on in the Herald Sun and Racenet this weekend, Gil?
Yeah, had a chat to Gay about Serdelius and sort of the plans for him. So you'll read all about that tomorrow's Herald Sun.
Let me guess, he'll win everything.
Yeah, basically. Basically. Oh, he might let the Cox Plate. I don't think he can win that one. He'll run in the Cox Plate.
Fiorente.
That's right. Yeah. So, and there's a few synergies or comparisons there, of course, with Fiorente, which I'm sure that there's been a few of those since.
Frankel starts with an F. Fiorente started with an F. There we go.
That's right. So, no, look, I think he's a proper horse. He's. I think the interesting thing with him, which you don't see a lot of imports, and Fiorente was one that actually did hit the ground running. Usually they do take a little bit of time, whereas this bloke has basically landed, starts winning, and away he goes. And the handicapper has sort of treated him quite respectfully with 55.5 for a horse that's basically only had 2 starts here in Australia. So Yeah, so we've got a bit of a word there on what the plan is. And, of course, Craig Williams rides Sedelius on Saturday, and he'll be the jockey in through the carnival as well. So a nice ride for Willow in search of a second Melbourne Cup. Colleague Brad Waters has spoken to the Tiakau camp around Damask Rose, and she's a mare sort of going places, and she's in the Rupert Clarke, at odds, but a little sneaky chance.
And big going on with Tiakau at the moment as well. They've just got horses everywhere, so they'll be popping up here, there, and everywhere throughout the carnival. Obviously, no Imperatrice this year, but they've still got enough horses to make their impact felt. They've got Mark Walker has a really nicely bred filly that's bred on UK time in the Jim Maloney too. One on debut. Mick D wrote it.
Yes, well, they've got a heap. I mean, we did a story on them just at the start of the carnival. Basically, a lot of 2 and 3 year olds, a lot of young horses coming through that they hadn't really exposed. They took a step backwards after Imperatrice and all the Bellatrix Star. They had a little run there with a few nice horses, and they thought, you know what, let's just sort of circle the wagons and hit the spring really hard. So they've got a lot of these untried, emerging, up and coming types. Just bits of news I saw pop up on the socials yesterday. Unfortunately, Basilina has been ruled out of the Cup. Of course, she was one of the Cup qualified horses. Had surgery, unfortunately, for the Browns, bone chips, I believe. Oh. So that's a bit of a shame. She was qualified, and all roads were leading towards the first Tuesday. It's a bit of a shame, sort of a feel good, story from a local, smaller stable, taking on the big gun. So it's a bit unfortunate, but hopefully she'll be back stronger than ever, and clearly has ability. So hopefully she makes a full recovery. And I saw Matt Laurie, Vinrock is going to bypass the Golden Rose, and then sort of run Start Stakes on Grand Final Eve, and then head towards the Caulfield Guineas. And I'm looking forward to next week, actually. We might have to do an earlier record because Friday night, Grand Final Eve.
That's the meeting when we're not covering Sandown. We're covering Friday night. I was about to mention that. You beat me to the punch. We're looking at Moonee Valley next Friday night, punters. The Sandown, go watch the grand final and focus in on Randwick. No offense to Sandown. That card next week at Moonee Valley is going to be good.
Absolutely. And maybe some of these Sydney trainers, I don't want to steal your thunder, Mitch, they're sort of looking for more sprint races, I hear. They want another Group 1 race to lead into the Everest. Well, there's a race in Melbourne called the Manikato, which has got a wonderful history, and there's some great winners of that race. And that's on next Friday night, if they're wondering. If they want to send a float, we're not too far away.
Well, Lady Shenandoah is coming down for that, and we had the news this week, Mitch, that Headwall out for the spring as well with an injury. But what else is going on in the DT and Racenet for the Sydney punters?
Yeah, I think most of the Sydney traders saw Lady Shenandoah first up and probably will steer clear of her because I think she'll be winning the Manikato going down there en route to the Everest. Of course, she's been locked in as well. We've had a few horses locked in for the Everest this week, of course, with Overpass, the latest of those to be locked in. But so, look, as it is often at this time of year, we're looking at Everest. We do have an extended section in the Daily Telegraph for the next sort of 8 weeks or so. So you'll certainly get more stories in the paper, another 3 or 4 pages, more work for Mitch, more work for Gil potentially. Might get a couple of bylines up in Sydney. We've got pages to fill, Gil. But look, this week Race had a good conversation with Tommy Berry, who of course rides that horse Apocalyptic on Saturday, and also Mahuna. He's in for a big spring. He's got some nice chances. We'll start looking really later in the weekend towards Kaying Rising, arriving in the country on Monday next week, boys. So look, he'll just be, he's doing his quarantine right now, but he'll be in town next week, as will a few of the other horses heading towards those big races in terms of the King Charles, of course, the Golden Eagle winner of last year, Lake Forest, coming back over. So they'll arrive early next week. So that'll be something to look forward to early next week. But just in the papers, it'll be all about sort of this, the shorts and, of course, the 7 stakes. Now, I spoke to Joe Pride as well, who is hoping for Chow Wolf to bounce back. He did say he was, there's no doubt about it, he was disappointed with that second up run in the Chelmsford Stakes, but he's expecting him to stand up and be counted in the 7 stakes this weekend. So a cracking day of racing, boys. Really excited for it. And yeah, look, let's hope we can find a couple of winners, eh?
It is a big weekend, of course. We didn't mention weights for the Caulfield and Melbourne Cup came out this week as well. So I'm assuming insert any trainer in connection to complaining about how much weight they've got as well.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them sort of put their hands up already. I think the Knight's Choice camp, they were a bit annoyed that what they got, I think, in the Caulfield Cup. I think they expected something in the Melbourne Cup, but they got a bit of extra weight. Gay does have a little clip at the 55.5 on Sir Delius. Wasn't too happy about that. But
find me a trainer who's ever happy about a weight and a handicap, unless it's when they're on the minimum. They've been snuck in with an extra half to get in.
Yeah, well, that's right. And there's a few of those sort of internationals. One Smooth Operator who came out last year, won the Geelong Cup. Now, he's sort of on the borderline because if a few of these Golden Snap, the Japanese horse it's targeting, so they're down on about 51. And because there's going to be a few more internationals and there's a few, so there could be a bit of a jam there. The weights have gone up a little bit. It might be a little bit harder to get in this year. So you don't want to be too light either this year.
Yeah, so it could be one of the ones where they have to run top. Like it was last year, I think the Japanese horse had to run like top 8 in the Caulfield Cup.
That's right.
Got in.
That's right. So Golden Snaps in that situation has to run top 8 in the Caulfield Cup to sort of satisfy and get in. The other one out of the weights, just saw it sort of, there was a few people that weren't sure. Absurd was a last minute or a late inclusion. Of course, Willie Mullins' horse that has run in the Melbourne Cup the last 2 years. Ran 7th and 5th, so it was on track to run 3rd this year. It was a late inclusion for the first shipment, which arrives next week, which means that he's heading towards a Caulfield Cup. So I saw you could still get about $25, $30. Now, I think his 2,400 metre form is actually better than, I'm not sure he's a proper 2-mile stayer. Not in Australian conditions. I think, if you look at his 2 Melbourne Cups at the 2,400 metre mark, he probably looks like he's going to win the race.
On the turn, he looked to win it 2 years ago.
That's right. So anyway, so if you are into the futures, I think it's a bit early. Anything can happen as we know with racing. So I wouldn't be piling in, but Absurd, late inclusion for that first shipment, gets here next week, and roads lead to the Caulfield Cup.
My new rule is wait till they've passed the CT scan after last year with Aiden's horse. Still getting over it. Anyway, we'll talk about this week's tips quickly. So in the Group 1 Underwood, both of the boys like Sir Delius. They like Angel Capital in the Sir Rupert Clarke. In the shorts, Gil's with Jolly Star, Mitch is with Briasa. Best bet this weekend for Gil, Vivid Sun, race 6, number 6. Angel Capital, race 8, number 9. The next best, Berkeley Square, race 9, number 2. The next. For Mitch, Apocalyptic, race 6, number 1. Next best, Idle Flyer, race 4, number 12. And Quietness is the value play in the final event, a race 10, number 1. Make sure you do follow the boys on social media. Gil is at Gilbert Gardiner on Twitter. Mitch is at Mitch RW Cohen. And Racenet is at Racenet Tweets. So make sure you do also subscribe and star on YouTube. Hit the notifications button so anytime we do a video, it does pop up on your feed. We are doing a lot more video. We're heading out to Flemington on Sunday because they do have the stable open day as well. So a lot of videos coming out from that across Racenet and Punters as well as the social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. We are done and dusted this week. Gil, thank you. I'll see you on Sunday at Flemington.
No worries. See you there.
Mitch, thank you.
Cheers, boys.
And thank you to the production team behind the scenes. Of course, producer Gerald does a great show. If you want more racing info, make sure you do go check out Hold or Tickets, Campbell Brown, Lammy and Marcus Barzano, taking a look at the lighter side of things of racing, but Lammy is tipping up a storm at the moment too. But good luck if you're having a bet this weekend, and we'll catch you next week on Out the Gate.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.